we try and find a one size fits all, approach for everything without taking into consideration that we're all different people on different journeys with different bodies, with different strengths, with different weaknesses. So you can't say, the only sleep tool you'll ever need is, chewing some xanthan gum, an hour before bed. Okay, that works for one person. That doesn't make it true for everybody.
Yeah, I've come to try to get out of the echo chambers as much as possible. I mean, it's kind of, obvious. And maybe we should start here. Hey, welcome back, by the way. Thank you, buddy, for coming back. This is our second attempt at having a recording together. Last time, it just didn't work, man. I had a new setup at home, and my mic system was all messed up, and it was just very hard to hear you because all of my fiddling and stuff like that. It was just really a hard copy. And I was like, you know what? I could put this out and I could be really disappointed in it. And you may or may not be disappointed in it. I don't know if other people would care or not, but I just thought it would be a distraction. I thought, hey, how about why not we, reset,
Yeah.
come back together a few weeks later. Maybe we had some other thoughts. Maybe the conversation is a little bit more pointed. Maybe it's not. Either way, we can have a discussion about, health and welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to my podcast, Heavy Conversations. The conversations were conversations about obesity, and you, as a certified former fat guy, have completely transformed your life, and you've done it in a pretty, I would say, I don't know if unconventional is the right word or not anymore, but
I
you
would
have.
say conventional with unconventional results.
Yeah, maybe that might be true, huh? Because elaborate. Can you please elaborate and sort of
Yeah.
share a little bit about your story?
Yeah, no problem. So I found myself one day looking at a picture from July 4th party that we had, and I was not happy with what I saw. I kept giving myself all kinds of excuses on why I wasn't going to, start losing weight, getting healthy. Oh, I work too much, or it's too busy with the kids, or whatever. Give myself a thousand excuses. But this was the first time that I saw a picture and I said, oh my God, I have fat calves. And those New Balance fat guy shoes aren't doing anything for the appearance either. So, that was July 4th, 2013. And I decided right there that I was going to go through with bariatric surgery because if I didn't make a drastic change that was going to help me stay on track for life, then I wasn't going to see my son graduate from high school.
Hmm.
I wasn't going to live long enough to walk my daughter down the aisle at her wedding. So, like, these were the realities that shook me. And I would have been happy if I would have just been able to lose a portion of the weight. At my heaviest before surgery, I was 450 pounds. And I was taking the elevator up one flight of stairs to go to the office because I didn't want to walk into the office sweating my balls off from walking up 17 stairs. 17. Come on. There was all kinds of like, no way was I going to give up, a free ride at the airport when they had those little moving sidewalks to help, expedite you from one side of the terminal to the other. Now I'm like, hey, I got a chance for, 100 extra steps. Let's get to it. But I would have been happy if I would have just been able to lose some weight and be active. All I ever cared about. I had seen a lot of people who had gastric bypass or the vertical sleeve, which is the version of the bariatric surgery that I had. And as I've talked to other people who have had weight loss surgery, whether it's sharing my experience or giving them, more, one-on-one support and talking them through, what they have upcoming, one of the consistent themes I saw was that people would lose a bunch of weight initially because the weight just literally falls off of you. Um, to where they would start to get into some bad habits or fall back into lack of discipline, and where they were, their goals would say be, hey, I want to get down to, I want to be under 200 pounds. I want to hit Wonderland, and I want to be, less than 15% body fat. Well, you get, comfortable in your lifestyle, you make some concessions on the foods that you're eating, and then that original goal of Wonderland and 15% body fat is like, well, I'm feeling pretty good at 250. I'm able to, I feel really good with myself. And then it just, one concession leads to a donut, and the donut leads to a soda, and the soda leads to, mac and cheese, and just not the best choices of food. And it's not that they're binging the way that they may have beforehand, but you figure an extra 15, 20 calories a day over a whole year is 10 pounds.
I also would imagine, too, kind of like with one of the narratives around Ozempic right now, there's probably, for unless there's a lot of intentionality about it, there's probably not a lot of protein being eaten, and probably a lot of these people that go
Yes,
through the surgery lose,
100%.
yeah, lose a lot of muscle and kind of get like I hate to even say this because it seems demeaning, and I applaud the weight loss and the difficulty of that journey. I know it's really hard, but they kind of get skinny fat, right? They lose all their muscle and lose most, if not all, their fat, and then you just sort of there.
An excellent, that's an excellent description, skinny fat. I know exactly, I can think of a handful of people. I mean, they have lost a lot of weight. You were once 300 pounds and now you're 115, except that you're 115 pounds of skin and bones.
Skin and bones, yeah.
And what my experience has been, now, mind you, I had weight loss surgery December 9th of 2013. I, at my heaviest, I'd said I weighed 450 pounds. Now I'm sitting comfortably around 210. One of the blessings that I have, I do not have extra skin.
Wow, that's great.
That is one of those, things. Your results may vary, or these results aren't normal. Not having a lot of extra skin is not normal for people who have massive weight loss, especially in the gastric region, because so many people, to your point, they're going to be happy just losing weight, and they don't think about the muscle that they need to build in order to sustain their body into their latter years in life.
What were like their prerequisites for you to go in and have the surgery?
Yeah, so Kaiser Permanente in California has a very, very thorough program in order to achieve bariatric surgery. Um, but it starts with, a very in-depth overview, 4-hour class where you go in, you're hearing the doctor, you're seeing what's going on. Then you have to learn how to eat. You have to learn what the process of the surgery is, not so you can perform it, but so you're knowledgeable about what's going to happen. Because there tends to be this magic bullet mentality around, was gastric bypass, sleeves, whatever, and now it's, now falling over to the Ozempic type drugs. You take this drug and you're going to lose all the weight and it's effective. Yes, but you have to learn why you ended up the way you ended up. Because I didn't wake up one day, 450 pounds. This was, a lifetime's achievement of bad decisions around food for 20 plus years. So I had to, examine why I was eating those ways. And Kaiser's program really did a good job in exploring a lot of that. All right, this is the new kind of way of eating that you're going to have to, do. Now we want you to go ahead and build out a week-long meal plan. So you get some experience in order to set you up for success once you have the surgery. One thing that I don't know how other programs are, but they emphasized the psychological aspect of our relationships with food. um, that I did not take seriously enough, which we can get to a little bit later. But in order to qualify for my surgery day, I had to lose 10% of my body weight prior to being scheduled for surgery. And then I had to lose another 5% from the time I qualify to the time of my surgery date. So they wanted you to um, show that you're having consistent behaviors because, most fat people can go on a crash diet for a month and lose a shit ton of weight, but then they go back to eating normal. And I've gained all that weight back and then some.
One thing I think that's been probably pretty unique about your story is the way you've been able to, make weightlifting and powerlifting such a part of your health. And how
Mhm.
did you find the powerlifting side of this for you? Because I don't know if anybody certainly for anyone that knows you or gets to know you any better, it goes and looks at your social media, like you're a big strong guy now. Were you always a strong guy, or was that since the surgery?
No, I was active, but I was fat guy active. So I had, massive legs. So I could go to the gym and, put on a good performance for leg day with my buddies, but it wouldn't be a consistent thing. Um, I just knew that I couldn't be active the way that I wanted to be active at 450 pounds. And having the surgery for the first couple of years was just about moving my body. So being able to go to the gym and do a half hour hit training or go participate in a half hour ab class at 24-hour fitness. Those were the things that I was thinking about right after surgery. It's like, okay, now I can do something. I can move. I can exercise like a normal person. And I blame my son. He was a freshman in high school. He was getting recruited by the football team, so he's spending a lot of time in the school gym doing all their bro lifts. And he comes up to me and says, "Hey, Dad, I bet you I can out squat you." And there's some things that as a dad, you just can't let slide.
Hmm.
I'm just glad that he didn't call me out into the backyard to fight me. So, we didn't have those kinds of hurt feelings.
Hmm.
But I said, I'll make you a deal. I haven't been squatting and I'm not dodging you. We can do some leg pressing and see where we are and then have test our strength out in 3 months. So we get down and start, this leg press, and I get up to about 600 pounds for 5, 6 reps. And I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I'm like,
That's a lot of weight, dude.
woo,
That's
I
a
haven't
lot
been
of
lifting
weight.
heavy. So this is feeling pretty good. Well, then, he's built very stocky and, he's 6'2", probably at the time, 275, 280, built like a lineman. And he just hits, 600 for like 20 reps and then keeps on putting on plates. I mean, he got up, upwards of, 900 pounds and he was getting it for a couple. I'm like, well, I'm pretty happy with my 600 for 10. Now we know where we're going to start and we know where we're going to go. So we set a date and we said, all right, we're going to not just test our squat, but now we're going to test our squat, our bench press, and our deadlift. And had no clue that there was an actual competition, that there were federations that hosted competitions that you could do. That came a little bit later. So we started off, just doing it at our local gym, and to this day, he still hasn't out squatted me in the gym or on the platform. So I still got that going for me.
Hold on to it as long as you can, because I promise you it's probably gonna that scale will probably tip at some point, I would imagine. My kid has been I'm a little slow with this stuff. I don't remember how much I talked about it last time we got together, but my kid's been expressing some interest in wanting to hit the heavy bag and stuff like that. I finally got it up for him. I finally got some gloves in the house and got some pads and doing a little drill mitt work with him. But it was neat seeing both of my kids. It was neat seeing both of my kids do it, but especially the older one. You could tell he was really trying to let out some aggression one
That's
particular day
awesome.
on the
Yeah.
heavy bag, and I think what a good. I think these poor kids are just so I mean, we don't let them outside. I hate to say it. I'm embarrassed to say it. I don't live, I, I don't like letting them outside unsupervised. I mean, we do a little bit, but between the interests that they have and playing video games and everything else that they could or could not be doing, they don't get a lot of exercise just naturally. So over about the course of the last year or two, I've been just trying to build in some exercise into their routine, whether it's going to be do some push-ups in the morning or after school or hit the heavy bag or go for a walk with me or something like that. But it was cool though. It was cool to see him actually like crank up and actually throw some heat on the heavy bag. And if, similar to you, I hit it first just to sort of set the tempo and stuff like that. And it felt good to hit the bag and hit it with a little bit of strength and aggression. And as I told my friend, heavy bags don't hit back. So I think I did pretty good. I don't know how good I would do if the heavy bag had arms and gloves and was hitting back at me, but just a defenseless heavy bag just sitting there looking for trouble. I was able to
Yeah.
have some fun with it, and so was him. So it's neat, man. I think I'm really starting to think amongst everything, and I think this is relatively new, but amongst everything our kids have to worry about as parents, us teaching good health to our kids is probably near the top of the list right now. I know your kids are getting older, and that sort of fades, and my kids are getting older. I mean, I got a 15-year-old and an 11-year-old, but it's if I can help them go into adulthood with a mostly healthy body and some appreciation for exercising, and maybe have found a venue or two or an avenue or two that they like to utilize to get some exercise in, I will consider that a massive success.
Absolutely.
It's right up there right now with get good grades and be respectful to your elders. Like, I mean, it's right at the top because these poor kids are just, and I'm one of them. I'm a fat guy. I've been a fat guy most of my life, all my life, most all my life. Dude, so many kids are just getting so unhealthy at such a young age. I sometimes see these kids walking from their school, and like some of these kids, and I'm certainly not here to mock or shame. Some of these kids, you could tell they're having a hard time walking now
Mhm.
as teenagers. Like they're just
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
beyond the
Well,
capacity.
and I don't want to go down a rabbit hole or conspiracy theory hole around the whole food industry, but if you think about the types of food that our kids are eating now from a processed perspective, that you compare that to, say, 70s, 60s, night and day difference. There's things that our kids are being exposed to, um, from preservatives or stabilizers or whatever it is, or there's in fact things that are trying to get them more addicted to the types of processed foods that, company A is selling, that we are seeing diseases and, just kind of, general breakdown and lack of development of, young people's bodies because of the food that's available to us, from a process perspective. And then if you add on top of that, we went from being a front yard society in the 70s to a backyard society in the 80s and 90s to a play date society in the 2000s. So kids are not having the same sort of activity opportunities on a day-to-day basis that we had when you and I were growing up.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Yeah.
I would just be outside until I heard my name called out into the night air.
Exactly.
That was the cell phone call. Just my grandmother would lean out the back porch and yell. I was like, "Oh, time to come home." All right, good.
Exactly. Yeah. And my parents never locked the door, but it was very much implied that we were to be outside during the summer. You
Yeah.
need you need something to drink, there's a hose right there. You want lunch? We'll schedule something out in the backyard. You and all your friends can come sit on the picnic bench, eat, and then go out and play again. But go out, explore, be young boys,
Go
learn
play
life.
outside is nothing. You just don't hear that said very much
Yeah.
anymore. And, interestingly enough, we had a neighbor, and this guy would tell his like 4-year-old to go play outside, and I was like, oh, I don't know, man, a little young, but I kind of appreciated, at least to some degree, he kind of got, the outside moving, being active was good for the kid, but he didn't
Mhm.
want to go be with the kid outside. So I always kind of wondered, and I think that's where the rubber meets the road for our society now. We're just so worried that there's looming dangers out and about. Circling back a little bit to your surgery, I think we would miss something important if we didn't sort of get a chance to hear what that was like for you going into it and coming out of it. I mean, you shared with us that you know food was more of just like a vehicle for like emotional connection with people more than like emotional comfort for yourself. So that's really cool. I think a lot of people use food for emotional comfort for themselves and probably a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. But what was it like going into that surgery knowing that like your relationship with food was going to forever change? Were you at all were you were you feeling any sense of desperation going into that surgery? Like, I need this. This is the only thing that's going to work for me. Were there any nerves? How was it coming out of that surgery and not having that same connection, just to be able to hammer down a plate or two of food whenever you chose to at any moment, and having that gone? What was it like? How much pain was involved with the surgery? How long did it lay you out, if it laid you out at all? Can you just sort of tell us, like,
Yeah.
the 72 hours going into that surgery, and maybe like the first 72 hours coming out, and maybe the first 3 weeks beyond that? What was that like for you?
Yeah. I will say that prior to surgery, I had compartmentalized my relationship with food in from a problem perspective to social environments. If I didn't go out to eat with my friends, then I wouldn't have a 1,500 calorie meal.
That's interesting. Can I step on you just for a second?
Sure.
I am the opposite. When I go out and eat with my friends, I'm talking. I'm giving my body time to adjust to the food I'm eating. And there's been times where I eat a plate of food and I look down at it and I go, "Oh, these guys think I'm completely faking. They think I'm just not eating because they're here." But the reality was I slowed down enough to actually let the body accommodate the food I was eating, versus when I'm alone, I
Oh,
just sit in the
right.
corner and I hammer food as fast as I can unintentionally, and I will eat triple the amount as if you and I were out having lunch together.
No, no, absolutely. But for me, I wanted to go out and have an experience that would create memories with other humans.
Hmm.
So we would sit down, a family, with some friends. Let's take, for example, the Olive Garden. Let's say that you and I took our families out to the Olive Garden together.
Hmm.
Well, I wanted to make this a great experience that we can look back on fondly.
A dining
So
experience, as I would call it, Eric. I would call it a
exactly.
dining
I
experience.
want a dining experience.
Yeah,
So I'm
totally.
going to order a couple of appetizers.
Yeah,
Yes, we're going to get calamari, stuffed
yeah.
mushrooms,
Okay,
and
same.
3 boats of, Alfredo so we can dip our breadsticks in it while we're waiting for
Funny.
everything else to
Hmm.
come. And then, oh, no, we're going to order 4 desserts and everybody's going to have their own fork and we're going to pass those desserts around so everybody gets a taste of different things. I'm looking for the experience. Now, if I'm going to cook for myself, I'm just going to eat a lot and eat a lot of it at home. So, but to your point, one of the things that they really impressed in the preparation for the surgery was learning how to eat slower so your body could have that mind stomach connection of eating something, go into your stomach, and then sending the message up to your brain. All right, we're at 25%, Captain. And then, all right, we're at 50%, Captain. And when you get to that, 80, 90%, you get to say, I'm full. And you realize, you look down, I've only had 400 calories. because I'm eating the way but we blow right through those. I used to blow through those all the time. I'd go out to Blackberry Diner, love that place. Give me a grizz, the grizzly size chicken fried steak. Well, they didn't serve the extra large portion without three eggs, and I wanted an extra one, so I would have three eggs, the biggest chicken fried steak, more hash browns than I can, shake a stick at, and I'm gonna have, the English muffin. I would literally clear my plate within 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I just consumed 2,000 calories in 10 minutes, and my mind hasn't said you're full. I was missing that. I would do that over and over and over. Just I'm like, oh, this is good. This is good. I'm having a food experience. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until post-op that I realized that my food relationship wasn't just in social environments. I was also using it as, a an anxiety medication when my family would go to sleep. You got young kids in elementary school, you got challenges, with your job, you have challenges in your marriage. And when everybody else goes to sleep and I'm sitting downstairs in my lazy boy chair watching Sports Center at 10 o'clock at night, Bag of Ruffles sounds pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily it's going to make me feel better, but it's almost out of boredom to where I'm being more distracted from the problems of my life and trying to solve them. I'm going to hide from them in this bag of chips, in this quart of ice cream, in the leftovers from,
Yeah.
dinner. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
So,
think I've ever cried into a plate of food before, but I definitely distracted eating all the time,
yep,
entertainment eat it all the
yes,
time, and because that was a distraction from whatever. Maybe that's why I didn't cry because I
yeah.
was eating the Ruffles, right? So I don't I get what you're saying. So you're going into the surgery. What was it like? Going to the hospital that day. What was it like? How long were you at the hospital? What was it like going home? Like, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So there's, I had, normal anxiety, but I'm the eternal optimist. So I, just knew everything was going to work out for the best. I was going to get through it, no problems. So I was going in there with that kind of mindset, but still, I'm going into the hospital. They're going to put me under. They're going to, give me pain meds and they're cutting out a portion of my stomach. So those realities were still in my mind, but I'm like, the benefit of having a tool that's going to assist me in a lifelong weight loss journey or a health journey trumps my fears of this surgery right now. So going into surgery, they give you good, Valium beforehand, so you're feeling nice and comfortable when you're getting into prep. And I had the funniest prep nurse. She was great. I wish I knew her name or was able to stay in contact with them. But she was joking with me the whole time leading up to it, and like you always hear, "All right, we're gonna count down from five, four." I was gone, and I wake up. I don't know how many hours later. I think 3 or 4 hours later,
Huh?
and I felt bloated in my chest cavity, but not necessarily that stomach bloat, if that makes sense. Like
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I just all this was, but that's what they do. They made so with a vertical sleeve, they make five incisions on your stomach. It's all orthoscopic. So I don't have any kind of big zippers or anything, any kind of scars like that. But they go in there and they cut out the portion of the stomach that they need to remove. They suture you all up and you wake up, a couple hours later. And the reason that I felt so bloated is that when they put the tubes into you, they actually blow gas into your stomach to expand it. So
Mm-hmm.
they know they can see what they're working with
Mm-hmm.
inside,
Mm-hmm.
inside your guts. So that was the most discomfort I had. The surgery itself, it was a little uncomfortable, because you have little incisions and they cut through, your muscles in order to get to, so you got some tenderness. It wasn't unbearable, The biggest thing for me was the gas pains in my, chest and stomach cavity. And as soon as I woke up, they were pushing me to start taking laps around, the floor to start to work that gas out. I mean, I had the loudest, most obnoxious gas. I mean, I wish I would have recorded some of it because those farts were so epic, and none of them smelled, which was great. Um, so
Thank
anyway,
you for bringing this up because I had these questions and I just thought I'm not gonna ask, but I imagine when I heard
yeah.
blow it up your stomach, I was like, oh, you probably had some incredible gas after that.
Oh
So
yeah, it was
you did,
epic.
huh? Okay, good to know.
So leading into surgery, they put you on a liquid diet. So 24 hours, you're only drinking, Gatorades and waters, and you can have a little bit of broth. Um, and then, your standard, you're not going to eat anything afterwards. So I think 4 days I was on liquids, clear liquids. But they did have me find a an isolate protein that was clear. So it would, and I would didn't start that until like day 3 or day 4. Isopure was the brand of drink that I was using. 40 grams of protein per bottle is pretty good, and it didn't taste like, a lot of the protein shakes taste. It was, kind of refreshing, almost like drinking, some Gatorade. Anyhow, so about, I guess, a week afterwards, I was able to introduce some soft foods, so scrambled eggs, that sort of thing. And then probably about 3, 4 weeks out, I was eating, relatively normal solid foods. Now, this isn't the normal foods that I was eating 4 months prior to having surgery, but you're eating clean, whole foods. So breakfast would be, a couple of eggs, maybe a slice of ham. And at the time, I'd be lucky if I could get one egg and a bite of ham in, because you just get full so fast. Lunch was very much the same. Have a couple bites of chicken, and then add in any leafy greens that you can manage. Because it was explained to me, and this is a great analogy. If we all ate this way, we wouldn't be heavy. But if you consider the old analogy of the science teacher when you were in high school, bringing up a clear crystal vase, and he would say, "All right, is this vase empty or is it full?" And of course, everyone's going to say it's empty. And then he puts a bunch of river rocks in it, and he says, "Okay, now that it's full of river rocks, is this jar full?" No, it's got more room. So he pours some, small pebbles in and fills it up. And is it full? No. Then he pours sand in. Is it full? And then, most of the class, yeah, it's full now. And then there was one bright kid in the back who said, no, it's not full. And then they were able to pour water in it. And so you have river rocks, pebbles, sand, and water all in this one container, and it's now full. And if you think of protein as the river rocks that you want to try and fill your stomach up with most, because that has the most nutrients for your body to maintain and build muscle, then you can start to fill in with lesser categoried or lesser prioritized foods. Then you can add in, your veggies. Then you can add in, your complex carbs. Then you can add in, whatever. And if you're still full and you have a little bit of room, okay, go ahead and take the next step into, rice. Go ahead and take the next step into a bite of toast or something like that. So it's all about, prioritizing the, the building foods and not so much on the slider foods.
Mm. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that's what we don't know how to do is we don't know how to like in a healthy way put protein into our diet anymore. I think everyone's just living off of Cheetos and bread
Uh,
and soda and
we're
all
such
that.
a fast-paced society nowadays that
Yeah.
we make all these, it was such a big deal like when the gas stations stayed open 24 hours a day and were open on Sundays, because then, wow, I can do all these other things and then I can go get my gas on Sunday.
Mm.
And now we've just packed our lives with so many things. I know when I had, my kids were younger, we're going to dance recitals and dance rehearsals and football practice and baseball games and this, that, and the other, that we're constantly eating at gas stations or fast foods
Mm.
just to get a meal in
Mm.
versus thinking about maybe we should pull back, slow down,
Yeah. And
eat
when
right,
mhm.
and go forward.
And when
But
I'm home, I'm resting because I'm tired.
yeah.
I eat once I get in the car and go out. I don't do this anymore, but I was eating I was eating fast food easily for half of my meal. Half of my food intake was probably drive-through, which is
Oh, yeah.
insanity. Absolute
We call
insanity.
that pre-gaming in my life
Now,
because
go ahead.
on my way home from work, I would stop off at McDonald's, get a couple McChickens,
Oh,
and then eat the meal that the family had prepared.
yeah. I didn't exactly ever get into that exact routine, but I definitely know what it was to go get half of the dinner at one fast food drive-through and then go get the other at another
Yep.
fast food drive-through because I felt embarrassed ordering so much all at one window. So I would separate it to try to hide my shame. So here you are. It's been okay. Help me out. How many years has it been since your surgery?
10, 11
A
years.
decade out,
11
man.
years.
You've had something that I was just really realizing the other day is so helpful. You have gained perspective, right? Perspective, I think, usually has to come with time, right? Can you get perspective
Yeah.
without time? I don't know. I think it demands a certain amount of time. You've had perspective from this. Looking back, any thoughts, any regrets, any things you wish you would have done different, any advice that you would give to somebody going into that surgery, coming out, not necessarily even like what you could have done better, but just like what observations have you made about the situation in yourself as it relates to the food stuff and the health stuff now that you've been so far removed from it? No, I can't say removed, but so far past having the surgery,
Yeah. Post-op.
post-op. Yeah.
Um, I would say that for anyone who is considering, well, let's back up and say, if you are struggling with your weight and you're willing to shoot Ozempic into your body on a regular basis to lose the weight and get healthy, why wouldn't you consider weight loss surgery as a potential option?
So
Investigate it.
there's such good pharmaceutical options now, right? We've sort of evolved beyond bariatric surgery. Is that kind of what I'm is that
No, not at all.
no?
Not at all. I I think that surgery, some people can lose the weight and keep the weight off by taking a pharmaceutical. I applaud them. My problem is that as I was losing weight and setting milestones and hitting those milestones, I would celebrate by going out to food.
Mm,
And getting back on track was so daunting.
mm,
One day would, oh, I'll get back on track tomorrow. Well, that turned into next week, next month. Next year will be my year. 2014, that's gonna be my year. It never was, it was just, but with the surgery, if I get off track, I'm not going to get as far off track as I would without it. And getting back on track is a hell of a lot easier because I can't go so far off the rails, if
mm.
that makes sense.
It's just you put some bumper rails in that just
Yeah.
keep it tight no matter
Yeah.
what.
And again, it's not a silver bullet. It is simply a tool that I use to maintain a healthy lifestyle.
Mm. What's your advice to people then? Do you say if you haven't tried Ozempic, try Ozempic, or in my case, semaglutide, or like have people come to you before and say, "Hey, Eric, there's probably going to be at least 4 people that listen to this. Maybe one of them's
Yeah.
fat and is thinking, oh man, here I am 25, here I am 35, here I am 45, 55, whatever the number is, and they go, I can't do it. What's your advice to them? What
if you're considering a weight loss journey and you've failed, or you've had success and failed and had success and failed, just haven't got the consistent results, or you struggle with discipline like me, take it in a longer period of time. Give yourself 2 years and say, okay, I'm going to try Ozempic for 6 months. See if I get to the goals that I'm trying to get to, and see if I can maintain those results for a year. If you can, you don't need surgery, because all surgery is the tool that Ozempic is to get to weight loss.
Beyond Ozempic, then I suppose, what would be the other things you would advise? Because Ozempic alone's not going to get it done, right? I guess the stuff you talked about, right? The
Yeah,
put the big
get
rocks in first, eat your protein.
well, there's three different planes of weight loss. There's the physical
Hmm.
activity, there's the food, and there's the mental side. And all three need to be addressed or at least acknowledged. So, from a food perspective, I'm of the mindset, start with your building blocks, start with your proteins, start with your health, then go to your healthy carbs. And, if you're full, great, call the day, then move on, giving you the ability to get active. Now, getting active doesn't mean you need to start a powerlifting program and be in the gym 4 or 5 times a week, lifting crazy weights. Most people don't have those kinds of goals. But getting active, taking a walk, doing some push-ups, starting small and building up to having, healthy, levels of activity is really, a big thing. And then examine your relationship with food, not just from a social aspect, but are there areas in life that you're soothing through the use of food?
Hmm.
Because if you go down the road of surgery, you are not going to have the ability to soothe yourself with the food the way that you did in the past. What that looked like for me is 18 months into post-op of having bariatric surgery, I realized that I couldn't kill a bag of Ruffles or, a carton of ice cream, but I could drink a bottle of wine, and I could drink a bottle of wine and a handle of whiskey, to where I wasn't drawing sober breaths anymore because it had taken over my life. I was still trying to be active. I was still trying to eat healthy, but when you're inebriated all the time, you're not making good decisions,
Yeah. Is that common? Do people turn to? I mean,
Cross addiction is very, very common.
yeah.
And I, I shouldn't say that I wish that Kaiser had, I wish that my experience had taken seriously cross addiction and put a label on of it like alcoholism. Now, if you take away one drug, I'm going to find something else to soothe myself, and the drink is very easy to do because I can drink, you know,
Hmm.
and not get full.
Have you ever
Or
stumbled across any percentages by any chance of people that go that route post surgery? Do you know by any chance?
I'm sure there is. I haven't looked into it, but I would be curious. I know a lot of folks that I've seen it manifest in alcoholism. I've seen it manifest in love addictions.
Mm.
Um, and I would say that tends to be a little more common in female patients because they've struggled with their weight for so long. And one of the desires that people have is they want to be attracted to the other sex. So you're the girl who never got any attention from the boys because you were heavy. And then you start losing weight, you start feeling good about yourself, so you get this mental confidence, and now you're on Tinder, you know, going out on Tinder dates every night. You're going out to the bars, getting that attention that you always sought, that you could soothe with food, that you don't have the food. Now you're, like scratching two itches. And I've seen a lot of bad decisions be made and a lot of relationships destroyed because people start feeling good about themselves and feeling a little too sexy,
I,
and they're going to go out and show off.
I know a lady, heavy lady, lost her weight and left her husband. I was like, oh, that's sad to see. So it says here 8 to 30%, 8 to 30% on ChatGPT will turn towards alcohol post surgery. So
Yeah, that and
it's
that
30%. I mean, I know that's the far reaching end of it, but that's a big number, near a third of
I would
everybody.
say that number's probably low.
Wow.
How
Yeah.
many people struggle with
That's the
alcohol?
reported, right? That's the reported.
That Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a good point. Well, hey man, I think this is a useful conversation. As we talked about last time, my own personal story with bariatric surgery was I was introduced to it in my 20s, watching my father, who was 400 plus, somehow, and this was in the early 90s before it was so prevalent. He somehow got Roseanne Barr to give him bariatric surgery through her guy, and I think at the time it was pretty rare for bariatric surgery. She had that television
Oh
show at the
yeah,
time, and yeah, man, I know even for him, he had at one point gained 100 pounds back post surgery and then lost it again really fast. I think, like you said, the guardrails were there. He was
yeah.
he was hammering chocolate while he was incarcerated, and gained about 100 pounds apparently from the PX or the commissary or whatever they called it, and wherever he was for being a dirtbag, and so. And then he lost the weight. God bless him, troubled man. I hope he's resting in peace now. But so, anyways, I've always had a very I've always not wanted to, just because of my own personal daddy issues, and I've always thought, and I've always, at the end of the day, I've always thought, but it's just eating less food. Why is eating less food so difficult, Eric? Why is eating less food so dang
Yeah.
difficult? But it's clearly turned the lives around of probably, can we say millions at this point? I don't know.
I
Definitely.
I think it's safe to say it's probably helped millions of people.
Yeah,
And I would say that, for a lot of people who are adverse to having surgery, it's more about ego
totally.
than
It's
it's, I mean,
pride and ego. Yeah, pride and ego.
because I mean, yeah, yeah, I have all kinds of dirty analogies that aren't necessarily appropriate for the podcast, but if you give a dying man a rope to pull himself out of peril, he's gonna grab it. No ego. Doesn't matter if it's you're anti-marijuana and someone hands you a hemp rope, you're gonna grab that rope and get pulled out. But we
The level
don't
of
understand the urgency
yeah.
of our weight condition.
Mhm.
And if we looked at it with any level of urgency, that might be a consideration to drop the ego and give it a fair shot. Give it
the
a
the
fair look.
level of intervention's got to match the need, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and if the need is that great, then maybe the intervention level needs to be that great too. So, yeah, I mean, I think that you know, anyone that's trying to get healthy, anybody who's dealing with struggling, suffering, dealing with living with obesity, it's got to be a consideration, and I mean, who am I to say who it is and who it isn't suitable for? I was having a conversation with a friend the other night, and we were talking about Ozempic because, like you think about Lizzo right now, right? Lizzo's lost a bunch of weight, and nobody will let her celebrate without rubbing Ozempic in her nose. And I don't even know if she's had Ozempic or Wegovy or Wegovy or whatever it's called. I should learn that. Not so smart, but. Like everyone's always trying to say you cheated or you did this, and I was saying to my friend, it's like, well, it's similar to, we were watching, we, I'm kind of a dork, or maybe we're all dorks in this particular case. We were watching Mr. Olympia, right? And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, look at these guys, right? With steroids, right? Cheating, Lizzo cheating. Look at that pretty girl. She's wearing makeup. She's cheating. Like, I mean, cheating can be a very broad brush, and people love tear down other people's successes and accomplishments, but at the end of the day, does it even matter? I mean, our own personal
Yep.
health is what counts. Our own personal, some people are going to be able to hold over me. I take testosterone, I take DHEA, I take thyroid medicine, I take vitamin D, I take copper, I take a multivitamin, and I take semaglutide, otherwise known as Ozempic or Wingavi. Is it Wingavi? Is that what it's called? Is that the?
I have no clue.
Yeah, I think it's called Wingavi. I'm not sure, but like, dude, I mean, it could be very well. You didn't do it on your own. You had to cheat or whatever. I mean, so be it, man. I'm not here. I'm not here bragging about my 115,
Well,
120 pounds
here's a
down.
better question. Why the fuck do we care
Yeah,
what people think, whether we cheated or not?
yeah.
It goes back to the original problem of our own, anxiety and self-worth, that we feel like we have to, all right, I'm losing weight. This is great for me, but my self-confidence is still tied to how other people believe that I did it the right way or the wrong way or the approved way. I did it my way.
Hmm.
I'm healthy. I'm living my life for me, for my wife, for my kids, for my three chihuahuas. They're the only ones that matter. So if someone wants to say I cheated, okay, I'm living. I'm on the right side of the dirt and I'm sucking air. I got that going for me.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, let's stop it there. I think that was well said. I love it, dude. Thank you for your time. I will get
Yep,
this out probably in like a week. So,
no worries.
man, you offer a unique perspective, and I think you've done everything the right way from all appearances. Sounds like, and even the right way had bumps, right? The right way is
Mhm.
not always bump free, but here you are 11 years later, still pretty jacked and still pretty tan, and you're doing good with it. So congratulations and good job, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, dude, I'll talk to you later, okay?
All right,
Thanks
sounds
for
good,
making
man.
time for this, okay?
Yep. All right,
Thanks,
buddy.
pal. All
Bye
right,
bye.
bye.